So we picked up these 4 from our local salvage yard. With some soapy water and washing up detergent, just clean the wheel. I've got some 80 grit sandpaper and I'm just smoothing down the rough edges of that curb rash so it's nice and smooth. Earlier on you saw me sanding the curb rash down. It's nice and smooth. So now what we're going to do is just fill it. So let's get it nice and clean. Just applying the body filler to cover any of the deep grazes left from the curb rash. I left the body filler to dry for about 30 minutes. Once the body filler was nice and dry, I sanded it down with 80 grit sandpaper to get it nice and smooth. The tyre's been cleaned. Now I'm going to sand the tyre down with 400 grit. Make sure it's nice and matte before we get the primer on. After sanding the wheel down with 400 grit sandpaper, I cleaned the wheel with soapy water and allowed it to dry. Just laying on the first coat of primer. This coat is always nice and light. I've just laid the first coat of primer on. As you can see, this coat's nice and light, it's not too heavy. I left it 15 minutes before I put on the second coat. I let the second coat of primer dry for 30 minutes before going on to the third coat.
When the primer dries, it dries kind of rough. The surface is still a bit rough, and if you don't sand the primer nice and smooth, you don't get as much of a good finish, and sometimes your finish comes out matte. Tire's been sanded down. Before we get to painting, just need to make sure it's nice and clean. So I've got an alcohol wipe.
The first coat is always nice and light, just gives something for the rest of the paint to adhere to. I left it 15 minutes before putting on the second coat. After putting on the second coat, I left it 30 minutes before putting on the third coat. The first coat of clear is always nice and light. You don't want to go too heavy because the clear coat will run. Just putting on the final coat of clear. This coat is a little bit heavier.
This is unfortunately the end of this video. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, and I will see you when the next video arrives. Wapa.